Hello everyone, welcome to another session of Astitva Prakashan. I'm your host, Manoj Pandey, and we have a very special guest with us. Manoj Joy is here, and welcome sir to today's session. We are very happy to have you. Let me give a little introduction about him. Manoj was born and brought up in Kerala, India, and then he went to abroad. Currently, he's staying in Western Australia, and he's a teacher there. So yeah, we'll have a little chit chat about the personal experiences as well about the book and in very detail. So yeah, be with us in today's session. So first of all, welcome to today's session, sir.
Thank you so much, Umi. It was a long waiting interview with you. I'm so pleasure to have you here to have a short chat regarding the book and my experience and my experience while I was going through this book during the process of this writing of this book. Yeah, I'm pleasure to have a chat with you.
My first and foremost question to you, is this related to you?
Um, Thank you for at least taking some time for reading the book. I appreciate that greatly because having a discussion regarding this book without having read this book is absolutely makes no sense to me. If someone wants to discuss with regarding the book without reading, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's when it's all about me. As you said, the first answer to your question is yes. The whole book is my experience, and all the experiences are true. Um, but having said that, all the experiences are true. All the events and plot and even the names of the people are the same, except for few. I changed it deliberately because there is some requirement to meet when I publish a book. So most of the characters, not most, every character in this book are real to me, at least. The first part, all the characters are exactly the same, and either they are living characters or um, they passed away. Unfortunately, they are no longer with me. Yeah, and the second part is my inner journey. So yeah, that's it. Yeah, to your question, yes.
The second thing I would say, I really love the first part of the book. And unfortunately, I was not much satisfied with the second part. And because you as an author have really raised my expectations on the first part, the way you have explained the pain of Leela as well as her son and Mai, it was really, really touching and very intensive the way you have explained all the scenario that happened to his life. But the second part, just few things didn't make sense to me. Like suddenly his life got changed, and I just, I just couldn't accept that. So can you little elaborate with that? What were the things you changed in the second part, or all the events were true? I just want to know from you.
Yeah, for me, the second part, actually, I started writing this book with the second part. I started writing the book as a second part, and after writing the second part, I understood it doesn't make any sense unless the first part I have to write. Actually, if the first part I don't want to write, but I was forced to write the first part. Now, it's not only you, many people cannot correlate the second part with the first part. The reason is it's because it's my own inner journey. And I used analogy in the the beginning, as an introduction to the second part, I have written that it is my own inner journey. And so it was so hard for me to put it in a language which is lenient, but whereas in the universal language is not a lenient one. So, so I used an analogy. In the analogy, this is the thing. In the second part, if you can read all the names backward, it will make a sense to you if you use your intuitive mind. Say, for example, the character in the second part, Denim. Do you
Mm,
know who is Denim?
mm.
Denim. Denim is a character whom I go and find. It's simply Denim is a character. You put it in backward, it is called mind. Ihudub is my brother, who
Mm.
Rahataf is, if you put backward, it's a father. Ihudub is my brother. If you read backward, it is Buddhi. You read backward, it is called Buddhi. So Buddhi is my brother, and mind is my wife. And then you each character, for example, the Seriset. Seriset is a person who comes and takes away denim. Saraswati is a desire. If you read backward, it is a desire. Basically, the second part is inspired by Ramayana.
Yeah, completely. That scene in the field when he was that was I was saying that yeah, it somehow is related to Ramayana, the whole scenario. And your brother, like he was Lakshman, everything. Yeah, I could
Yeah,
relate a little. Yes.
yeah. Even though I was born and brought up in a Christian background, my forefathers, everyone. Actually, my forefathers are from actually Syria.
Mm.
So long Christian, but I was totally touched by Ramayana. So it was in me. So the writing, it's actually exploring myself, and it touched. I used so much of that in analogy. And then finding my father as the universal conscious, Rahtaf as the universal consciousness that we all are in touch with, the inner being. So that's the Rahtaf, the inner being. And May, the character of the main protagonist character, May, M-A-I. If you read backward, it is I am.
Yeah.
It's I am. So me, it's all
So
about me. That's it. Uh,
yeah. And
So the second part, I don't much surprise if people don't get unless they use their intuitive nature. If they don't use, they won't get it. So it's not a big problem. But my purpose was not to make people very sensitive and emotional or thing. Nothing. I don't much. But my purpose is to readers to explore the inner meaning of the second part and touch with themselves, their inner being, and know themselves who they are. And yeah, so that is the second part. So if you second part is only a small content. If you read with that sense that each part, like Ihudub is my brother, which is my buddhi, the dinim is my mind. So if you take in that way and intuitive exploring yourself, what happens when you come desire in your life, it takes you away, move you away. And when you quench your desires, when all the desires are met, then only you you can go back to your own father's land of your own being. So that is the second part. So that's how it makes sense. Unless you read in that way, you won't get it, make it any sense. Any readers, It will not make any sense unless they read it in this way.
I completely agree with you when on this thing when you say that it's an analogy, and that's how it makes sense. If we see the both parts individually, then it's a very good. Both of them are really really good. But you have already, since you have already made a very realistic explanation on the first part. You have given a description about Leela and all the characters. It seemed really genuine. Like the story seemed very genuine to me, and that's why I also expecting that similar kind of thing would happen in the second part as well. But yeah, if we see both part individually, it is really a good. It's really good on their own. But the analogy you tried to create on the second part, as you explained right now, yeah, it's really good. I really appreciate that. So, um,
Me, most of your conversation part breaking down, I can't hear it properly. There is an issue with connection, it seems. So I couldn't get most of your conversation or your question.
yeah, yeah, surely I'll repeat. Am I audible now? Am I audible to you now? I think the video has frozen. Am I audible to you right now? Hello? So, I was asking that, like, if we see the both of the parts individually, it's really good. I was trying to say, and but the analogy just you explained me that if you but I just want to know a thing like if you want to give a very realistic experience about your life in first part, then why would you try to give the analogy in the second part? My simple question is that why not to keep it the realistic way?
Okay, your question is done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. And there is a reason behind it. Absolutely right. As I said in the beginning, there is a limit to language to express certain experiences, certain human experiences cannot be explained in a linear language. That's why many um, many spiritual giants, any gurus you look, many of them they use. I'm not putting myself in their place, but I am giving an example. They most of the time they use simple parables or they use some analogy to express to convey the message. So why did I use the second part as an analogy is the reason. The first part is how did I overcome those difficulties, those hardships? How did I overcome? It's not merely by my strength. There is a power beyond human experience. So, which I need to convey in a particular way that not everyone, it's not for everyone. Those story, the second part is not for everyone. Cannot convince only to people who have intuitive mind. Now the difference, we all have two minds. One is our rational mind and the other one is intuitive mind. Now, if you ask me what is the difference between intuitive mind and what is the rational mind? Now, what is the rational mind is the virtue of your five senses. Your rational mind works by the virtue of your five senses. If your five sense, one of your senses, say your visual sense or your auditory sense is intact, is affected, then your rational mind will be affected. Am I right or wrong? Yes. So it is all depend upon your five senses, but your intuitive mind is not depend upon your five senses. Your intuitive mind is the power of your spirit by which you transcend a certain truth without the help of your five senses, without the help of your five faculties. So that's why I used the analogy. So the analogy part is for those people who seek truly, sorry, the second part I used analogy because it is for people those who see to get out of this samasya or the problem of life. If there are people, there are so many people in this world who are struggling to get into the true life. The true life is this moment, this present moment. So they are struggling to know how the life is working. So how this life is working, I cannot demonstrate. I cannot write a book how it works. I can only demonstrate through certain analogy. That's what I used. I cannot explain to them with lenient language. It's not direct language. Uh, it's not something that you can explain directly using human language. No. So that's why. So second part I used. First part is anyone with a rational mind, because it can be easily correlated with, as you said, when you read the back of my other part and the picture, you could easily relate, and it's a daily life, especially people who comes from that cultural background, they can easily relate. And that was my experience when after reading the book, they many called. But second part, 99% could not really relate. uh, that doesn't surprise me at all. It doesn't surprise at all. But there are quite a few people who could. So I'm happy with those one or two people who could really relate with that.
Uh,
I hope
fair
you
explanation.
got.
Yeah, fair explanation I got. So now let me get into the storyline and the characters. So you were the child of Leela. So how did you could sense
Ye-
all the pain and all the suffering she went through? How could you narrate so deeply that what she must have felt? Because you were a young children that time when she passed away. So I mean, how did you do this?
Okay. Um, as I said, all the events are true. For example, she has been told that she is going for the church feast, um, rather than getting married. So those, and then it comes, I know my mom's family background, so I am putting it in a readable way. That's how I narrated it. It's my imagination. So what would have happened? So when she was told that she is going for a church feast, what would have been her imagination, her feeling, and what was, I know clearly her background. And she has got six sisters and two brothers. They all explained so many things, and many of the events was some people narrated me by accident or by directly out of their sympathy. And one of the character in there, you would know, Chandi. Chandi still lives. He is around 100 years old now. He is a still living legend. And he explained his interviews with me. His video clips are with me. Audio clips are with me. If people question me, how did you know? I know I have things to prove.
Yeah. Uh, so one thing I want to ask, like after Leela passed away, you wrote a you wrote a letter or something. Explanation was there that you forgive your father. So do you forgive your father as an adult or as a child like mine? So what do you think could be the reason for that explanation? Like even after having so many atrocities in your life, you still decides like you still decided to forgive your father, and like which version of you have forgiven him? Like the child one or the adult
Okay, that's a good question. Um, See, um, when as a child, I was going through this process. So in the childhood of me, there was nothing as such keeping any enemy things. I was accepting the life as it coming to me. The forgiveness part came to me when I realized that he is never going to change. That was mostly from my adult. I did write when I was in a child. I do used to write letters. I do ask him. I do wish to come and meet me. Those things happened. But that forgiveness, the true forgiveness part came only after realization that only I can move forward, only I can move forward by forgiving, not keeping any tinge of um, hatredness or any sort of things. No, no. You will never ever going to progress in your life until you forgive and move forward. And I gave a clear explanation what is forgiveness is. It's not forgetting about, or it's by forgiving, you are not reducing your own it doesn't reduce your pain or anything, but forgiveness is my choice that I am embracing the bright future ahead of me to embrace. I have to give away, I have to uh, uh, give away those incidents. I may remember those events. That doesn't mean that uh, I have got an enemy or any hatred towards him. No. So uh, to your question, my answer is it all came when I was adult. But having said that, in childhood, that realization that forgiveness is very important in the life, that realization came in adulthood life. But in the childhood, I never thought of such things. Any hatred, I never thought of it. That hatred is needed, or I never kept a hatredness. And what progresses me later when I realized it is because I didn't keep any hatred towards me that helped me to move forward.
yes.
Hope you
So
got a, yeah.
yes, yes, I got the answer. So as a child or in our childhood, there is someone who always we look forward, like look up to every time. We want to be like him or we want to be like them. So, but in the story, Mai never felt
It's
like
break.
becoming
It's a
like
break.
anyone. Hello, is it audible?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, yeah. Am I audible right now? I'll repeat. So I was asking, like,
Yeah. I think it is a peak time in India. Internet users. We could have used a
Yeah,
different
yeah,
time. Um, that's fine.
yeah. So I'll repeat the question. I was asking you that in childhood we always look forward to someone, to be someone, look up to someone. But as a my as a child have never wanted to be like someone. He just wanted. I didn't read like anywhere that my want to be like him or that. He wanted to be like a teacher, like the respect he saw in his father's eyes for his teacher. So, apart from that, do you think anyone would have influenced his life to become like that, except his father's teacher?
Okay. See, that event, it naturally occurred to me, but I never knew that at that time. See, that is where um, the second part, the relevant is the second part's relevance. I'll tell you, if you can convince your subconscious mind something very strongly, somehow you will be autopiloted to become that person. So, in my childhood, I somehow, in my subconscious, he impressed, that teacher impressed me in my subconscious mind that if I become a teacher, I could make someone like him, like my dad or Jacob, to become like a lamp. So that looking at those teacher, my subconscious mind said, "Oh, I should be one day. I should be become a teacher." It was only as there are so many instances in my life where I knowingly, consciously, but somehow in my subconscious mind, I said, "Oh, I want to become," and then I forgot about it. But I never knew that the Father, the conscious mind, the universal consciousness is in touch with me every moment until that I became that. So it's not about I want, yeah, in my life, I wished, I wished to be someone else, but I never desired to someone. Wish and desire is different. When we desire something, we support with faith and imagination. But when we wish, there is no desire, there is no there is no imagination, there is no faith in the wish. So there is a difference between faith, desire, and wish. So this teacher put me in a desire with faith and imagination, that I could imagine myself as a teacher in front of a classroom, in front of youngsters, young kids, delivering speeches, teaching them. I could see that. But when I say, they say, I want to uh, become a big star, I am nowhere. I don't know how to become, what to become. Uh, I don't see anything. I just wish. It doesn't support me with faith. It doesn't support me with imagination. So if you say that, did you wish? Yeah, I wish so much, so many things. When I see some film stars, I wish I could become like him. But that was just a wish, but never I desired.
Yeah.
I hope you got that clear.
Yes. Now, a question to you personally, I want to ask. How does it feel like to
Yep.
lose someone? Yeah. How does it feel like to lose someone you love the most? And in your life, it happened multiple times. You lost your mother, you lost your friend Bevan, you lost his father as well, and you lost your sister. How does it feel like how is the process of grief? I want to know.
Yeah, the loss is a relative. When you say lost, say um, in my childhood, when I gone through, yes, I grieved a lot. I grieved and I was so sad. But later, when I realized those, I overcome that. That's how I overcome is the second part. If you understand that only. Later, after all grieving, yes, I was so sad. I was second part also fully grieved, and I was so sad. Uh, I was disappointed. All these things came, but later I realized that this there nothing I lost. What can I lose? Nothing. Whatever I had, I have still. My parents, they are my um, uh, life's giving. They existed before me as well. Or we can't say it before me. They existed parallel to me at any time, at any point of time. I mean, I can't even physically see, but they are there. So it's not a loss. If mentally it is lost, but if you deep in spiritually, if you analyze yourself, you never lose anyone, anything. You lose only grievings or your ego. When your ego pop up, you think that you lost someone. But when your ego is lost, if you if you come to a point where you have no ego and you look at the world, you will be beautiful. Nothing bothers you. Death, many will die in front of you. Your father, your mother, your sister, everyone whom you love will fall across. This is because of you grieve because you're born. You bonded too much. But once you realize that, um, once you realize the truth, then nothing. You don't have to grieve it. They are the here, they are there. They existed, I exist, so they also will exist forever. So you don't have to worry about those things. You only um, you exist. That's the beautiful thing, and everyone along with you, and you supporting everyone that exists along with you.
So, how was the process of writing this book, and how was your overall experience?
Um, look, really, this writing of this book is not for any financial or any other sort of things. Um, it's just a flushing out of myself. I need a medium. See, when you share something with your friend, you are multiplying your joy. Yeah, when your difficulties, when your anxiety, your troubles, your life struggles, those things when you share with your intimate friends or someone, even when you share with someone who totally you do not know, still that give you a relief. What happens if I share with thousands of people? That's what I do by writing a book. If someone reads and I'm sharing it, and that way I bring down myself. I multiply my joy. So it's basically writing this book. The main purpose of writing this book, one, I want to um, make the readers that there is a universe beyond their own rational mind. There is a thing, um, there is a world beyond their thought, thinking mind. That is, I mentioned gateless gate. There is a universe beyond their thought, and that is the causative universe. So, and I want people uh, to explore or self-realization. They want to self-realize the truth that they are that. So that was the first purpose, and know their father, who their father is, means the universal consciousness is always there for you to support you if you will. That was my main purpose. That's why I told you I started with the second part. And then writing the second part, I want to tell the people, I want to tell the readers that if you go through any struggle, don't worry, there is a father beyond your, there is a father who always look after you. Universal consciousness, the father is universal consciousness, always a support for you. If only if you, if you choose, if you really desire to have him. Otherwise, no. You will keep on struggling and you.
So yeah, we were explaining the things that about grief. You went to the process of grief, and I mean, as a normal human being, I see as a loss that you have been around that person for a quite long time, and then suddenly that people disappears from your life. And I was just constantly crying on that scene when you explained all the people my loved died some way. And at times I just felt it can't be true. How can, if you believe in God, how God can be so cruel to a child who has already lost all these things and losing another and other things. So I mean, I just want to know from you that do you think whatever you have achieved in your life today, wherever you are, I mean, it has something to impact, like it has impacted in some way in the person you are today?
Yes. In the second part, I ask Rahtaf that if you were my father, why did you let me to struggle all this when I lost my mom and you were not there at that time? I lost my sister and I was in orphanage and I gone through a lot of struggle. None of these places you were not there. And then he replies, all these struggles were necessary to learn my statutes. The reply that he gives is, all the struggles, I knew that you were going through these struggles, and I was absolutely aware of that struggles. And those struggles were absolutely necessary for your growth and to know my, to learn my statutes, my rules, how my life, how your life works, to know that I need those struggles. If those struggles were not there, I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be the person right now sitting. So those struggles were necessary, but those struggles, you accept it as it comes to you as a life moment. Don't take it as a problem. There is no problem. Absolutely, there's no problem. Only events after events. And if you take everything as your problems, then you will go behind the problems solving one after the other. But you accept as a life event, then nothing bothers you anymore. And yes, to your question, yes, those struggles was necessary for my growth.
Yes. And also in your book, I see a very much that Malayalam effect about Kerala, whatever. Actually, I am from North India, and I didn't have much knowledge about how South India is, and the explanations you gave about lush green sceneries in Trishur or whatever places you went. I really like the deep narration that you have provided, and I believe the names, the way you call your relatives. I think I wanted to learn Malayalam at some point in my life, and it's very difficult to learn. It's really, really difficult language, I see. But the way you have explained this thing, I mean, it made me so easier to understand how the scenario might have been. I could presently imagine myself in that situation as an observer. And yeah, I basically like to appreciate you on that. And also, like, is this your first
Your
book
voice
that,
is breaking. I can't hear.
yeah, am I audible to you, sir? Hi, just give me a minute. I'm just trying my position. The internet is not working.
Oh,
Yeah, I think today has been a lot
hi.
of struggle for me. I'm just trying to
Uh,
figure out where my internet will work. But yeah, we'll continue this.
yeah.
Um, so I wanted to ask you, like, is this your first book?
Yes.
And how come you explained all the scenarios in Kerala, greenery, whatever I read about the like its physical appearance was really magical. I could just sense myself as an observer in the place. I mean, you have really explained really well how Kerala is, how the culture is, about the church, about the people, and everything was so good. And it was a really brilliant explanation.
Thank you. Thank you
I
so much.
mean, yeah, I mean, I was telling one of my friend that she was from Kerala, and I told few words that how do you address your relatives in your family, and she was surprised that how did you learn all this, and because I believed it was really connected. Even any person from the world, if he has any idea about the Kerala, I think they can easily relate to the scenario, how it might have happened, how the house would look like, and the I mean everything was so brilliant, and I'm really want to appreciate you on that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was my childhood memories. So much of my memories are passed from even when I was 2 years. I was checking with my memories with one of known person. My earliest memory comes from when I was 2 years old. So quite my childhood memories are very strong in me. So I don't know, by naturally falling in me to make fun and make means not in the expense of others, but good social fun, making comments on certain things. So it naturally fall. I used to write a little bit in my friends circle, and they, how do you write like this? They explain it. So I don't know. So many of, and I am also very nostalgic, and I love and I miss my place, but somehow I have to be here. Hope one day I will go back to my homeland, settle there.
Yeah. I mean, as a child, as a child, when you received education, when you were graduated, did you want to stay in Kerala more? Did you want to stay in your place more?
Um, never thought of such things as whether I want to stay in Kerala or because it was in a flow of life taking me, and I had no other choice but go with my life. So that was one thing in life that everyone has to. If you, that's why principle of um, in the book, one place I mentioned the uncertainty principle of life.
Hmm.
When you are uncertain of your life, if you rationally think of some solution, you will try your best to solve that problem with your mental ability. But instead of doing that, if you ignore completely that problem, or you know that tomorrow you are going to be homeless, and you don't just just forget about that and think of this moment that is given to you and leave that the next day morning to. And if you try to bring a solution, that will be limited. Your solution will always have some limitations onto it. But if you rely on to the universal consciousness or the universe to bring a solution, the universe has a multiple millions of solution to it, and he will bring the best one to you and wait for it. That's it. So if I wait for the, oh, no, I am not going out of Kerala, and I'm not, I went around all in, not all India, mostly eastern part of India, like in Assam and Nagaland. I did my studies in Nagaland. So if I stick with Kerala, I wouldn't be I am limiting myself. So any part of the, it's, as see all this Kerala, India, everything is divided by our own thought. It's thought. It's now I am destined to be here, so I am be happy here, and tomorrow I hope somewhere better place. I don't know. So that's it. Wherever the life takes, go.
Yes. And in entire story of mine, where do you think the turning point was? Where he just changed as a person? Where do you think, in your memory, was the turning point?
That's good question. I really appreciate that question. Very rarely come people. Um, None of them, I would say, none of them have asked me those questions. Where was that turning point? That turning point is the point where I switched my writing to the second part. Do you remember where I say that I visited after completing my B.Ed, Bachelor of
Hmm.
Education? I was absolutely free because I accomplished my become a teacher. I accomplished, and I was confident that I am going to pass. And yeah, I did. My life, I was successful. I was absolutely very peaceful and living in a paradise like that. It was in a December month, and I visited so I was relaxed what to do. Just visit friends and go around. And oh, I visited one of my senior friend. He is also a teacher. So I saw a book. At that the moment I saw that book, it attracted me, and I picked that book and went to my room and sat in my room. It was a hostel at that time. So I mentioned it clearly. It was a
Hmm.
hostel. I was a warden in that hostel. Um, um, so I had my own room. So I went to my room. I sat with that book. It was a very thin book. I think it was, if you seriously take, maybe in an hour you can complete that book.
Hmm.
But I took 3 days to complete that book. I read only probably a paragraph in an hour. I will sit there meditating on it. trying to bring what the author wants to say completely. And to an extent, I was successful to it. In 3 days, I sat there 3 days. On the third day, when I came out of the room, um, the world that I was seeing was entirely different. The world that I was seeing was entirely different, which means the way I perceived the world was different. The world was the same, but the way I perceived the world was entirely different. So that was the point, the turning point. That's where I switched my writing to second part, where I say I'm mourning. If you can see the first paragraph in the second part of the book, if you read that, you can see it was early in the morning, which means early morning represents the early stage of your uh, learning yourself, who you are. And you know that early morning when I woke up, I was in a dome of books. I was waking up. All I was surrounded by book, which represents um, a sort of knowledge came out of the book. I knew the genre of the book was there was a Gita was there, Bible was there, this subconscious mind, power of your positive thing. So all those sort of books were there, and out of that, I raised a new consciousness. And then the when you rise to a new consciousness, you come to a new perception of the world. The world, the way that you perceive, the way you walk, the way you talk, everything will keep changing. So that was the point. The reason is the second part, the why I write the second part is based on an incident which gradually happened. For example, I will tell it's not an example, I will tell you exactly what happened in my life, which provoked me to think who is behind me, who is acting behind me on behalf of me. It's nothing of uh, my own ability, but there is some force, or we say divine or God or whatever. I more would like to say it is a universal consciousness. So there is a power behind me, is moving me, keeping me moving. Beside all this circumstance, it is moving. The incident is like this. After my B.Ed degree, I happened to read this book. I sat in the room 3 days. I walked out of the room and the entire perception was different. Whatever I desired came to me automatically. It doesn't matter what happened, it came to me. For example, after completing my B.Ed, one of my friend walked into my room and said, there is a position for teacher, science teacher position in St. Clair College in Nagaland. Do you want to pick? I said, yes, of course, I will pick that. I became a teacher. I picked that, and then my accommodation I have to cook by myself. Uh, so I thought, Lord, if I got the food and accommodation together, I could have used those time as well for reading. The next day, one of another friend who walked in and said, and I always like to be um, a solitude life, means I would like to live my own. So he came to me and asked, hey, in Lekuti there is a school, they are really looking for a maths and science teacher. Would you like to pick up that position? It's a free accommodation and food. What else I need? uh, I said, yes, of course, I will. And then I dropped the other job and I picked that job. And it was in a remote place. So I can fully spend my time in myself, or I can invest my time in myself. Uh, so it was so amazing. So I was not realizing things, what is happening. So I picked that job. I went there and I started reading all this book. Whatever it comes to me, I started reading. It was like uh, I was so attracted to books. Even I got the first time I'm reading Gita, I got a small portion of a Bhagavad Gita. I sat in a one stretch. I finished reading that, and it elevated to a different level. And then one day I happened to read an article, a newspaper or some magazine. I don't remember exactly, but some magazines. It is talk about Australia, and in me, it caused a strong desire, a burning desire that I want to go to Australia. It was in 2003. In 2003 February, I'm very sure it was in January end, um, before the beginning of the school academic year. It was January end. So uh, after reading that article, strong desire that I want to go to Australia. So I don't know where the Australia is, um, where the geography, how is the geography, all those things. I never knew where it is. But how I am going to know going to Australia? I need the resource. I don't have the money, and if I stay in Nagaland, I am not never going to make enough money to travel to Australia, and I don't have the experience, teaching experience that is required, and I want to become a teacher there. So it was that article poked a really burning desire. And then I decided on 2003, okay, I will give myself a 5 years time to go to Australia. So that 5 years is to collect all the resource, my experience, the economic, the financial, finance required to move, and all those things I will. Now, having said that, 5 years, when I gave 5 years myself, I know one thing, that if I stay where I am, I will never going to make to Australia. Which means if I stay in Nagaland, I'm never going to make to Australia. So after 1 year, I left that school, having I had no idea what is going to happen ahead, because I have no home to go. I have no idea where, but only my uncle who was supporting. So I thought at least a few weeks he will support me in his house. So I straight headed to Kerala, back to my uncle's house. And within that a few 3 weeks, I happened to attend a wedding. In that wedding, one of the friend, and in that 5 years, I thought, yeah, the better salary that at that time I used to get is in Bhutan. So Bhutan used to give a better salary. So I thought, yeah, I will go to Bhutan, but I do not know how to go to Bhutan. Who is going to give me job in Bhutan? So with that, so I went to Kerala back, and I attended the wedding. I met a person who was working in Bhutan, and I expressed my interest to go to Bhutan. He gave me an address, Department of Education in Bhutan, and he said, you send your CV and everything to the Department of Education. They may call, they may not call. So I make a CV and I sent to the Department of Education. After a few weeks or month, they send a letter uh, to me. So by that time, I was in Hyderabad. I picked up a short-term job in Hyderabad, but my uncles got the interview letter. They said you go to interview and in Chennai. So I went to interview in Chennai. There were so many people, but I was one to pick up. So I was selected to go to Bhutan. So I joined in Bhutan 2004, April. I went to Bhutan. I joined Bhutan in 2004, and it was pretty good salary at that time. And then what happens? That year, 2004, was the first year Bhutan, that school in Tangmachu, internet connection came to the school. So after school, I used to go to the computer lab, and I had an email, but never used to get any email. Even junk mails were not there at that time. So, but after school, we used to go to the computer lab. We just Googled, but in my mind, I want to go to Australia. So I Googled in Australia. Somehow it came to the immigration website. I assessed by myself, and I was qualified to immigrate to Australia. And I put all my paper, and finally came to a stage where I have to pay the application fees. So so all these things happens in 1 year period of time. All assessment, paperwork, it takes, immigration. It's, if you are permanently moving to European countries or Australia, it is a long process. So it took a few years. When I say it is short, so in a the paperwork come to an end. That further process will happen only if I submit my IELTS, or you can submit your you can pay your application fees, process your application. On the way you can submit your IELTS. I thought, yeah, I go for an IELTS training course. So I went to Kerala, back in Thrissur, with my mom's house, staying in my mom's house. I went for um, this IELTS course. And in IELTS course, that's where I met my current partner, my wife. And she was to go to UK, but I encouraged her to go to Australia, and we married. We 2007 we married. It was in 2006 I went for 2005, 2004 I joined, 2005 I went for um, uh, this IELTS, and I met my wife there, my partner there, my there, and 2006 we married. 2007, 2006 December we married. 2007 myself and my wife went back to Bhutan. Meanwhile, she did write her IELTS. 2007 June, she got through her IELTS, but I has got a good solid income, so I could support her. So I sent her to Melbourne in Australia for 1 year training in nursing, and she completed her nursing there. And 2008, 1 year course. 2007 June she went, July she went. 2008 July, August she completed her course. And 2008 October, I for her and myself, we both got visa to Australia. 2003 plus 5, exactly 5 years after, I got into Australia. So this one, why I explained this incident is, see, when I read that article, I want to go to Australia, it was without any expectation. It was simply a desire with the faith that I did what I want without expecting or anything. I just gone through. I was autopiloted. There was a moment when my wife was failed in her uh, course, and she had to come back. But there, the universal consciousness played another role, and she could take another test and pass through. And we exactly 5 years, I landed in Australia. So think that one. So I was analyzing after few many years. See, these things happen. I was analyzing it, and then I understood the things, what is behind me, what is working behind all those things. What that book says is exactly the same. I just believed it. And yeah, I said in the at the end of the book, your faith, when your faith get matured, it is called beliefs. When your beliefs get matured, it is called your knowledge. When your knowledge get matured, it is called your wisdom. When your wisdom get matured, it is called love. When your love get matured, it is called singularity. In singularity, there is no you and me. There is only one. That is universal consciousness.
Yes, definitely the way you have explained the whole scenario. And I think there are more interesting points we could discuss on this session. But yeah, I think one or two
Time.
interviews is not enough. Yeah, we have a time constraint. But yeah, if could have been possible to meet you physically and have a talk, I would not have mind, because the story itself is very interesting, and whatever things you have acknowledged, or whatever wisdom you have today is really, really immeasurable. So thank you so much for being here with us today, discussing all the things. And I believe this is equally important for everyone to know what desire is, how your subconscious mind works, and how can you fulfill your fulfill your desires without having any expectations. And
Yep.
I really did enjoy your book, and yeah, it was a really, really brilliant narration,
Thank
I
you
would
so
say.
much. Yeah, yeah. Thank you so much, Shumi. That is why I was I'm happy to having a discussion with the people, someone who has read the book and thought about the various aspect of the life. So I'm happy. I'm so impressed the way that you ask the questions. Certain questions are really deep, and it needs time to grasp and to understand that questions in deep. I hope I could explain. Yeah, thank you so much. Hope to meet you sometimes in the world. Who knows where we would meet or not. But at
Yes,
least as in virtual media, we met. That's great. Thank you so much for your time. And despite of all these internet problems, still you kept in connected. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the effort that you have taken to hold this meeting.
thank
Thank
you.
you so
Thank you
much.
so much for bearing all this internet glitches. And here we are going to end today's session. Thank you all.
Thank you.